media as well. You can watch along. Myself, Fraser and Gordon, joined this evening by the Haverfordwest County Chairman, Rob Edwards. Evening, Rob. How are you?
Evening. Very good. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're all good, thank you, and good to have you on. And we posted on our social media, I know you guys did too, asking for questions from the supporters and from people across the county. We've got plenty to get through with you this evening, Rob. So we will crack straight on, I think. And a good place to start, I think, is with Jeanette Paul, who wrote on the Haverfordwest County page. What are your plans to turn around the poor start to the season? I think that's a good place to start because 9 games in, 5 points on the board. It's been a difficult start, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It has been a difficult. I think you look at the performances. We're probably we should really be in a bit better position than we are as performances overall. I think it's a very open-ended question. I mean, the obvious answer is score more goals and concede less. I don't, other than spells in a number of games, we haven't really performed that badly across the pitch. I think Tony summed it up perfectly really in the interview at the weekend, if anyone saw it, where it's we can do the right things from box to box, but in both boxes unfortunately things haven't fell for us. I think we've been at the end of a few tough decisions, a number of injuries. A lot of those are starting to come back. With discipline, with some suspensions, it's a number of things. It's not. I don't think anyone really makes any excuses that we've been in these positions in the 5 years that I've been here, and probably with no disrespect to the people that were here before, we're in a much stronger squad, much stronger coaching team than we were back at those times. So I don't think it's certainly not panic stations, but obviously in this league is really unforgiving. If you don't do the basics right, you'll get punished. And it's been unlike us. Obviously last season we were defensively really sound. This season there's a number of things that is difficult for any one person to put their finger on. But Tony summed it up perfectly in terms of I think we're doing a lot of good things, but when it matters, just things haven't either fallen for us or mistakes have cost us, and not putting chances away have cost us at the other end. So it's a difficult to put your finger on exactly a specific problem, but it's a point in the season where we've got a long way to go, a lot of opportunity to turn it around, and look, we back them to do it.
All right, Fraser and Gordon will come in just a sec, but let me just sum up a bunch of questions that have come in from some of your supporters, and thank you to everyone who did take the time to, and I won't name every single one, but the gist of these questions, I hope you don't mind me summarising them, is around recruitment, Rob. You lost some key players at the start of the season. I know Gordon and Fraser flagged that up at the start ahead of the European campaign, that we were a bit concerned to see some of the departures. I'm sure you were too, but the feeling, I think, from the fans is frustration that 4 key players left and don't seem to have been replaced by similar quality players. How would you address that specifically? And also just talk around your wider recruitment. Has that been a problem this season? And is that why you're bottom of the league?
Look, recruitment's difficult every season. There's a number of factors. There's catchment, there's geography, there's clubs coming into leagues spending big money. I mean, you saw that with Pontypridd 2 years ago. The rumours or the values that were thrown around were significant for this league. So there's times we just can't compete. But I think to say that we've recruited lesser quality players, I think is a bit unfair on those that have come in. Some of them to younger players, not necessarily accustomed to the Cymru Premier. I think it's a bit unfair to say that at this stage. And I think you look at the players we lost, there's senior players there. The one for me that is the biggest loss is Lee Jenkins. But how do you replace Lee Jenkins? There is not another Lee Jenkins in the Cymru Premier. You can see how good his performances have been for Newport in League Two. I think he's been one of their standout players pretty much every game this season. So that shows what a player he is, and credit to Tony and the coaching team for how well they've developed him during that period. So he for me is the biggest miss, but he's not someone that you can easily replace. But yeah, like I said, recruitment's always tough. I think there's a sense that just because we want to sign a player that they want to play for us. I mean, there's a number of factors that go through players' minds in terms of in terms of signing for clubs. So we kind of took the route of, rather than invest in a player that's probably not going to get any better, that is probably there because you're paying him more than another club, where we're in a transition period where some of these senior players who have performed really well and gone on to bigger things that are hard to replace, that we'll invest in younger players coming through. And let's not take away, you've got a defensive lineup of Alaric Jones, Dylan Rees, Elliot Scotcher, Cole McCarthy. They've played hundreds and hundreds of Cymru Premier games. These are not inexperienced players. They're players that have performed at this level for years and years. They've all played in European competition. So I don't think it's right to necessarily say that we've recruited lesser quality. Yes, I think we'd have loved to have been in a position where we had bigger squad depth at senior level. But like I said, there's clubs coming into the league that are competing and spending good money. And unfortunately, there's a number of factors that mean we can't always become the venue that they want to come and play. So we have to work with what we've got and only bring players in that we feel are better than what we have already.
Let me get to Gordon.
Yeah, Rob, it has been a difficult start, and there have been reasons why you've spelt like injuries, suspensions, the discipline. It's been a frustrating time, what I've seen of it. It's been very frustrating for the club. But I think it's important now, you're saying all the logistics of everything, but it's important now to galvanise and get everybody fit and on the pitch and move forward. That's the most important thing for Haverfordwest County.
Yeah, look, there's been a lot of football. The season comes at you thick and fast. I mean, we finished the playoff final in May. They had 2 weeks off before starting to prepare for Europe. And as the season comes, I think the last 3 weeks we've played Saturday midweek. There's not, like, you don't really have time to train in this league. And when you're playing really well, you want the games to come thick and fast when perhaps things are not going your way. Yeah. And a lot of the games have been small margins or short spells where we've been punished significantly. 10 minutes at TNS, first half at Colwyn Bay, probably the only times really where we've probably let ourselves down a little bit. Other than that, I think performances have been okay for the most part. But when you're not performing as well as you should do, or results are not going your way, then you kind of want the time to be able to regroup, to work on things and put things right. It just seems it's been quite relentless at the moment. Yeah. But there's enough quality in the squad. You look at the amount of games they've played. A majority of those are in our squad in Europe in the during last season, where we achieved obviously some amazing things. So it's hard to you can't really forget that and forget the quality that's in there. And look, we'd much rather be in a different position. I think in reality we probably should have been, but we are where we are. But there's enough quality in the pitch. There's certainly enough quality in the coaching team to be able to turn things around. And look, we've got a week break now until the weekend. We've got no midweek games, so hopefully there's an opportunity to get a few more back and put things right and kickstart the season. But yeah, look, from board level, we have complete faith in everyone to be able to turn it around.
Fraser.
Hey Rob. Look, I'll be honest, I'll say this before I ask this question. I'm not one who senses any kind of crisis after West County. I know there's been a couple of comments from fans on social media, but you get that at any level. And as you mentioned there, poor form breeds contempt in the same way that the good form, breeds a bit of a bandwagon in that sense. But, I look at it as a team, one win or getting out of the relegation zone, only actually a couple of wins off the top half. So I'm not one who senses any kind of panic in that sense. But I know you say you take tough questions tonight. There's one thing I picked up on, which maybe I'm coming from a media point of view now, and I give you the chance to push back on me, but I didn't like it, I'll be honest. I looked at the comments towards Scoria. I saw you and Tony Pennant take shots at them, and certain maybe reports and after West County didn't like it. I didn't like that. It came across to me as senior figures within the club rattled. I'll be honest with you about that. And look, I'll be honest, I didn't see those Scoria highlights. I gather they edited out something which was significant in the game, but I thought the responsible thing to do for Haverfordwest County would be contact Scoria if there was an issue and have a proper adult discussion with them and say we are unhappy and so on. I wasn't sure that was the best look for you and Tony to do that. And, look, maybe Scoria's coverage wasn't sufficient, but it's not Scoria's fault Haverfordwest are in the position they are in the league. It's not Scoria's fault that Tony's had 3 red cards at this stage of the season. That's something as an experienced manager, I'm afraid he's got to take responsibility for, whether he's happy with refereeing decisions or not. But, like I said, that is my thoughts on it. Maybe I'm coming from a journalist's point of view, and we'll give you the chance to push back on that now.
Did you see the bit that was missing?
I did see it, that the edited version went back. But I couldn't.
Would you not say that was a crucial part of the game?
A crucial part of the game, but I don't know how it made a difference that the result was done. And I would have thought the look better would have been to contact them privately, personally. And it's not Scoria's fault that Haverfordwest are in the position they are league-wise either.
There was never any element to that. The point is, I think that there was a lot that happened at that game as well that is been reported, and things happened that probably shouldn't have happened from an official point of view. But that's obviously not something that anyone will go into. But I think if you're portraying something incorrectly, I think they're the broadcasters of the league. They're responsible for showing the Cymru Premier to those that may not watch it week in, week out. I don't think there was anything aggressive or anything that any other club chairman or owner manager would have said, to be honest. But I think you portray an image of a game in a highlight reel. I think it should be a fair reflection of what that is, rather than showing elements that don't cover the full picture.
Does it Rob, sorry, just to butt in there.
We want to win. We want to win games, and I think there's lines sometimes people can cross, but I personally don't think we crossed any.
Is it worse though, Rob, when that happens publicly, when you are losing games at the same time? Does it just look worse as a scenario, do you think?
Possibly, but you see it. I don't think there's not a week where there's not some kind of controversy, and clubs that are impacted by it comment on it. I don't see it as something that isn't normal and shouldn't be addressed. Obviously, there's things been addressed through the official channels and feedback has been given, but I don't think it's something that you can say that Haverfordwest do. It's something that clubs and people within clubs comment on all the time.
Because I think, and I think Fraser's point as a journalist is interesting. I think generally people have really embraced the story of what's gone on at Haverfordwest over the last few years. And I think I take Fraser's point. I was quite surprised to see it almost felt like things aren't going well on the pitch, so there is an air of frustration around. But actually, that hasn't been the vibe around the club over the last few years. There have been some really good stories to come out of the club, and I think I do take Fraser's point. But I appreciate the fact you've answered that. Let's skip on a couple of questions, because one of the things you've said just now, actually, you described it maybe as a bit of a transition and point towards some of those young players that are coming through. And we should say tonight, those young players they've probably just landed, haven't they, out in Montenegro? Some of them maybe flying for the first time, but certainly experiencing UEFA football for the first time. Some of them were with the first team in Europe as well. How important is that young squad for the future of the club? How proud are you of that? And do you think there might be a bit where fans have to accept the fact you won't have as many senior players coming in because you will be dipping into that young squad over the next few years? Yeah,
it's an investment. Like I said, we're trying to take a stance where we want to promote the best talent in Pembrokeshire and give them a platform to play on the highest stage. Who would have thought 5 years ago that Haverfordwest under-19s would be playing in the youth equivalent of the Champions League? Like 3 years ago, we barely had an academy. The academy was loss-making. It was underperforming. We didn't offer a great provision. We had to make changes to that. That was one of the key things that Becky did when she came in terms of restructuring the academy. And we've got an amazing set of coaches. Tony works actively with the older age groups in terms of integrated into training. And you can, 3 years ago, we finished bottom of the league on minus points with the under-19s. Like, let's not forget that. Now, they've won the Southern League twice, National Champions, Youth Cup. I mean, you look at the first 8 games of the season. Yes, we're not. No one in the club is happy with where we are, but we have the confidence we're going to be able to turn it around. But look at there's comments in there where you can see exactly what's happened over the last 5 years, and I think everyone should be really proud in the club of what we've achieved, and I think that needs as much focus in this time than 8 results. There's so many talented people within the academy. you look at the squad in 2 weeks ago, there was, I think, 6 or 7 under 16s that promoted into that squad. Older players have come into the first team that are not eligible to play in the academy. Some have moved on to fellow Cymru Premier clubs. Like there's clearly a pathway for young players to develop and come through, and I think we've got the best coaching team to be able to do that. And going back to recruitment, you look at next season, there's going to be 2 extra clubs from the south and 2 extra clubs from the north in the Cymru Premier. There's not going to be 40 more players of a Cymru Premier standard available for clubs to be able to dive into. I personally feel the Cymru Premier is going to be weaker next season because I don't think there's enough players of that standard. Possibly maybe in North Wales, because you have obviously massive catchment with English cities on that border, but what difference is that going to make to Welsh football by having English players cross the border and playing in Wales and travelling back to northern cities within England? So we've got to think bigger picture, and that is we'll do what we can to attract the players that we want into the club, but I think first and foremost we have to look at what's around us and be able to develop that, so we're not getting into a bum fight next season and season beyond when recruitment becomes even more difficult and there's clubs coming up spending huge amounts of money. We have to look closer to home. We have to try and build something that will see Haverfordwest in a positive place for the next 3 to 5 years.
I just wanted to, and Fraser and Gord come in as well. I just wanted to pick a couple more questions that have come in, and there are a few around the future, Rob, the future for you and the future for the club. Sam wrote on the Haverfordwest County social media asking about the club you inherited, obviously from David Hughes, who we all know well, and the board. Is it fair to say that was on a decent financial footing when you took it over? Is that still the case now? And are you still going to be around, Rob, going forward? I think you're 5 years in now. I remember when you first joined. So are you still going to be around by the end of this season? Is that your plan?
Yeah, I've put so much into this club, and it means everything to me, whether I'm visible every week or not. Like I have other things going on. I need to think about my family and future and stuff as well. So this is something that was a life challenge, and I feel I don't think I could have embraced it anymore in this last 5.5 years. And as I said, myself and everyone associated with the club is so proud of what we've achieved, and I think there's a long way that we can still go. And I inherited I've said this many times, I inherited the club in an excellent place from David Hughes. Worked tirelessly for God knows how many years, keeping the club in a strong financial footing and being competitive, and obviously that ultimately ended with promotion just as I took over, meaning that I came into a Cymru Premier club. I think as you see pretty much every season, the gulf between Cymru South and Cymru Prem is really high. I think we navigated that first season pretty well, and I'm really pleased with how we've grown on and off the pitch during that time. I have to be realistic as well, that I know I can only take the club so far personally. We're probably close to that, to be honest, but that doesn't mean that my passion or love for the club isn't there. And what it means is I need to create a proposition that is attractive for somebody to come in and support me, whether that's as a partner, as a minority partner, majority, or someone that has the means to take the club to a much bigger level. But we have a real clear plan. A lot of that involves youth development in terms of how the club can move towards a hybrid and full-time system over the next few years and compete in the top end of the Cymru Premier every season. And we've worked hard on that for the last 6 months to create that proposition. And that's something that I'd really like to get to. So it's been noted internally that this is the idea. As you know, with Pembrokeshire, a confidential message goes out within 10 minutes. Everyone from Tenby to Fishguard knows exactly what's going on. Most of it's probably wrong, as it turns out that it is. So I think it's good to have the opportunity to address that. But just because I have ambitions for the club that maybe I can't meet, it doesn't mean that I'm in a position where I'm not 100% committed to the club for as long as I'm here, whether it's 6 months, 2 years, 10 years, or in what capacity I would remain if I am able to find somebody. But the passion to keep driving it forward as much as I can is still there, and that will be the case until it's not. Thanks
for answering that clearly. Fraser, any more from you?
No, just something I did want to touch on, which I mentioned before there was a situation with Tony, look, he's a high quality experienced manager. He's proven that at levels above Welsh Premier. He's proven it since coming back to Welsh Premier with Haverfordwest. But the red card situation does concern me. I'm not going to make any bones about that. I actually witnessed, I was sat in front of the one in the European game. I had an understanding that night of his frustration, actually witnessing some of the antics that went on. But it's happened 2 more times by the end of September. I do sense a concern. Is that frustration coming out on his part, do you feel, or are those decisions which you feel maybe were unjustified against him?
I don't think. I think the way that communication is between referees and officials, as I said, there was a particular incident against Connors Key the other way, which is something that has been noted and would have played a part in that. Obviously, won't go in much detail. I think there's frustration amongst everybody, but look, I'll back Tony, and if there was something that with Tony or any member of staff or any player that I didn't think was appropriate, then would have had those discussions. But no, I back him on that.
Gordon?
Yeah, Rob, I know it's been a difficult few weeks for yourself and everything, and at least you've been man enough to come on here and discuss everything that's been going on. You've been an open book, to be fair, Rob, and you have. We do support you. You've done a cracking job for Haverfordwest County. It doesn't feel that way possibly at this moment in time, but you have. You've done a and you know, I appreciate it. I think the fans deep down do appreciate it. We were really spoiled going to Europe twice. Tony did a cracking job there as well, you know. But I think we're expecting to win the European Cup or something. I don't know. But you never feel that you haven't done a good job, because it is appreciated from everybody in here and in the town as well.
Yeah, and I think the point about the youth team is a big one as well, because that is something that, Rob, the benefits of that, with what's happening, you know, with the game out there, you might not be around to see the benefits of it based on what you've just said. You might be, of course. I listened carefully to what you said. But those players will be around for some time. And the fact they're from Pembrokeshire as well is a great legacy as well for the club. And I think I would say as well, just keep using have a good relationship with people like Pure West and Pembrokeshire Sport as well, because those lines of communication should always be open, and you're always welcome to come on the show in good times and bad times. I think that's just as important as well. Final one, I guess some of the fans will be worried about the fact you're bottom. Will you as a club, you'll be doing everything you can to get those points and get up the table so that there's no concern over the next few months? Tony did say, didn't he, that if we don't start playing better, it will be a long winter. Will you guys be backing the manager and the players to make sure the winter's a bit more bearable and wins are quickly obtained?
Yeah, 100%. As I said, I don't think the performances are necessarily relative to where we are. There's as I said, both boxes have been a problem, but there's no other manager or coaching team that I would want in charge of the club in this position, in any position. I mean, look what they've achieved over these last number of years. Like Gordon said, that they have been spoiled. I think sometimes you have to take perspective as to where the club has been. Obviously, with success comes expectation. We're below that, but yeah, there's absolutely nothing in my mind that says that the coaching team and the players that are in place at the moment are not able to turn it around. And look at past seasons. I mean, back in January 2022, we were 5 points inside the relegation zone at that stage with I think 12 or 13 games to play. We played 9 games in the Cymru Premier. We're 6 points off the split with a game in hand. Like it's not panic stations. Tony's right in that. I mean, it's a very basic assumption. If you don't play well enough, you don't score goals, and you concede too many. That's the absolute basic of what football is, and that completely goes without saying. If we don't improve in that area, then obviously we're going to lose more games than we win. But the core of that squad is the same squad that took us to the heights last season of third place. Minus Lee Jenkins, as I said, I think is the biggest loss. Zach was excellent, but I think he was blessed with Jenkins and a great bunch in front of him. Yeah. So look, there's a real continuity with the squad from last season. The spirit is still very good. I don't think anyone's heads are dropped, or I don't believe that they can turn it around. And yeah, so we've got midweek free now to for Tony and Waggy and everyone to get them ready for Saturday.
Yeah, all eyes on Saturday. Absolutely. Well, listen, Rob, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on this evening. And thank you to everyone who sent questions through as well. Hopefully we've got through as many of those as we could in the time that we had. Rob, thank you. Good luck for Saturday. Pass on our best to the lads as well. Hopefully 3 points at the Oggy Bridge Meadow at the weekend. We are going to come back for the final part of Pure West Sport.